Good morning. This is Faith at House Fraud Homestead. I thought I would just come on today now that it's warmed up a little bit and it's not miserable to be outside to talk about some stuff I did around the homestead to prepare for the Arctic blast that just came through and how everything turned out. And my goals in the preparations I did make were A, to keep everything alive that we do have, and that's several species of animals and some plants that we're trying to get through the winter. And also try and do that somewhat sustainably and affordably. I didn't want to go out and buy a bunch of stuff if I could avoid it, but that was a secondary consideration to keeping everything alive. So some things worked better than others, so I figured I would just kind of take a little tour of what we did and what I would do differently. So you can kind of see these two here. This is Ed and Andy. They are our community cats that are slowly training us, and they'll probably come inside one day, but we're working up to that. So they were our first consideration because they can't really come inside at this point, but they're also, you know, going to be exposed to the elements, so I'm going to try and walk around them without disturbing them. You're okay, buddies. Hi, Andrew. There you are. Okay. So for them, I put in this little house over here. Let's see if I can get down here without tripping on cords. And they usually sleep, you can see the hair, on these patio cushions. It was a little bit too chilly for that. That's where they eat. But over here by our catio, this is what I set up for them, and it seems like they used it and it worked well. This is just a secondhand doghouse I found. It happens to be color coordinated, which was a nice bonus. And I had about 6 inches of straw in there. They look like they've kicked some of it out. And then on the inside for insulation, this is some cardboard, like paper liner that came with some meat boxes we used. So overall, this setup for them was about $60 for this doghouse, and I got a little bit of a discount on that because it's a community cat effort. I got the straw for free in a buy nothing group, so that was cool. So I probably could have gone less expensive by building a poly tote with the styrofoam liner, one of those shelters in there, but I didn't have time for a project this week at least, busy end of the work season. And also I was really trying to avoid buying anything new, and I found a doghouse before I found a plastic tote. So that's just kind of how it ended up working out, but I didn't have to buy anything new for these guys. I do think I would, in the future, block off a bit more of the front opening so that that's a little bit better insulated, maybe like cut that down by half, and I can do that in several different ways, but I think this will be a good long-term solution for them. They got through everything pretty unscathed, so for the two of them at least, I think this will be a good solution to just leave up for them year-round. So from here, say hi to Rosie. She wants to come into the catio, and it's a little bit cold and wet for that today. I didn't do a whole lot out here for the garden. I did water everything pretty well, and I mean, I'm not going to know if anything died or not for several months, but that was the only real accommodation I made. Everything's under 4 to 6 inch deep mulch, so that wasn't too much of a concern for me. I did wrap all of my new trees, sort of. I wasn't sure how far up you're supposed to go with the burlap wrap. But I did that for them, and I'm hoping that helps at least to prevent splitting, because we got down to -15, and I think we're supposed to get up to like 60 in a few days, so it's a little bit extreme. So that was 4 trees I did with about a third of a roll of tree wrap I had to buy, so that was like $10, I guess. I bought too many rolls, I'll have to return one. But I think they made it okay, and I watered everything pretty deeply too. For the chickens, there's going to be a couple different views here. They're all, well, most of them anyway, are out enjoying some fresh air for a change. Yes, hi Pepper, I'll get to you shortly. Yes, hi. So for these guys, their coop anyway, is fully enclosed and pretty draft free. I did worry about this one window here, and I'll show you from the other side in just a sec how that turned out. But originally I had blocked that off with a piece of bubble wrap because it was a little bit low for my taste over the roost bar. We didn't build this ourselves, that's just how it came. So I was trying to block that off, but we'll see if you can see here. We got a little tiny tinge, I think you can see, maybe. A little bit of frostbite on some of our bigger comb girls, you can see there. That's Bonnie. So we left them out the first night with that, and then with that little bit of frostbite, I didn't want to risk it getting worse, so we ended up actually bringing them into the house in this little dog kennel with some just scrap paper down there. We already had the dog kennel, so they actually spent the last couple nights in our mudroom right there, which is warmer than our garage, but not heated in its own right, so it's probably 20 degrees warmer than outside, and I think that was a good middle ground there. I didn't want to heat the coop if we could avoid it. I'm still trying to avoid that, but I think going forward, if I know it's going to be below 0, that's what we'll do in the future. I think the bubble wrap potentially, either it did nothing or it made the humidity just a little bit too high where they were, and that would bring the frostbite on. So I think what I'm going to do is put a rod across the whole thing and just put in some heavy duty curtains that we can pull back for weather. I think that'll work a little bit better. This like picnic blanket, horse blanket thing I got secondhand a million years ago. I was using it to cover plants. I just put that over their nest box closest to the roost bars just for a little bit of added insulation. And bless their hearts, they've still been laying. I think there's still some in here. Oh, somebody laid for me. I gotta go do that. Only obnoxious thing is that it does leak into the nest boxes when it gets wet, so I'd probably cover both of them in the future just to keep them dry. But I'll show you guys from the other side what we ended up doing for bedding and all that. Hi, ladies. Pepper, the piggy, did not stay outside. We don't have adequate shelter for her, and she sleeps inside anyway. The one shelter we do have for her is a free doghouse I found, and she can use that during the day just to take a nap or something like that. Sorry, our gate here's a little bit finicky. But her little doghouse over there was free on Marketplace. We put a bunch of straw in there and the chickens kicked it all out, so I think going forward, if we were going to have her out during a cold day and the chickens weren't going to want to come out in the snow, we would probably just put some straw in there when they weren't going to be able to bother it. We did have to tear the front of it off with a crowbar so that she'd fit in there. She didn't want to go into a small opening, so I'll probably doll that up a bit for her, but I think that suits her purposes well enough for during the day, and it's southern exposure, so it's pretty sheltered from wind and wet, so we'll take that for now. I just can't keep straw in there because of these ones. Hi. Water, we ended up, with Pepper being inside, we didn't keep this water filled at the time. That's the one everyone usually uses when they're out and about. But I did spring for, oh goodness. Hi, Miss Spiker. Hi, baby. You have to pay homage to the pigums. I did spring for a new heated water. I tried to find one secondhand, and of course they're in pretty high demand with everything right now, so I think this was a good investment. I just kept it in the run for the chickens during the day, and I did put some, I think the brand is Moonlight Mile. It's a fireball tonic for chickens, which is like an apple cider vinegar and warming spice blend, just to kind of keep their immune systems up and their circulation up, and I think it didn't hurt. I don't know how much it helped, but I'll take it. And you can kind of see on, we call her resting bird face right there because she's looks constantly angry. A little tiny bit of frostbite on the tips there. but not too bad. I don't think it's going to get worse in our coming temperatures. So I did put a homemade comb balm on them. I'm trying to avoid petroleum products, so I didn't do Vaseline. They were wiggly, and I'm not sure how well that worked. I would probably, in the future, spring for Musher's Secret or Bag Balm or one of those. I think that would work a little bit better, be a little bit thicker layer. But yeah, the homemade comb balm I followed from somebody's website didn't do anything much. So that was that. By way of food, well, they have a half of a squash down there that they're still working on, but I ferment their feed. I did bring that all the way inside so it would be room temperature when it came out. And I also, as a practice in the winter, I put cayenne pepper and thyme and oregano. I call it poultry mix or poultry seasoning. It's a spice mix I make that just goes on as a topper. A little bit of astragalus root too, just to try and keep their immune systems up, because I've been hearing from a lot of chicken people that they'll make it through a storm and then their immune systems will get hit hard, and then they'll succumb to other things. So I was trying to avoid that. Yes, we hear you. So that they get that in the morning, and then I usually bring them out kitchen scraps in the afternoon, and they do fine on that. So that got them through the last couple days. I had every intention of making them a warm oatmeal treat, and the week just got away from me. So next time I'll be, a better Betty Crocker mom to them, or I can't remember which Betty it is, Betty Draper, one of those, you know what I mean. Oh, hi. Oh, this is new too. Pepper has learned how to get into the chicken coop and steal their food, which we don't want them doing. So we put in this stopgap kind of thing here, so the chickens can get over or in between, but Pepper can't get through. And that was just some scrap wood. So the water was like, I think $50, which, oof, but it'll be nice to have on really cold days, and it's an investment, For their run, they do have this really nice, we got this coop built by a local guy. This works as somewhat of a windbreak, but it's not perfect. So I just put this tarp over it on the back and put some bags of leaves back here. Didn't work perfectly, like this gap completely defeats the purpose. But it's probably better than nothing, at least for western winds. I think I would put it more over the door next time. And I'll go ahead and show you. This was another idea I had. I don't think it's working I don't think it's working yet. I thought that if I put the compost pile behind the coop, they might get a little bit of radiant heat if it ever gets to a hot compost state, but we're not to that point yet. That's just, this is all stuff I cut out of the garden that I didn't want to kill all the insects in, so I had to cut it back to, even get through it because it got completely overgrown, but I didn't want to mulch anything just yet. So everything's just in here in case anything's still alive in there. But eventually this is intended to be the hot compost so that they'll have a little bit more insulation there. And then for inside, we did put these on too. It came with this lock, and we put this on for raccoons. We haven't had raccoon pressure yet, but just in case. Hi, ladies. For deep bedding in here, what I did was we've been using hemp bedding for the most part, but it's fucking expensive. So I used some shredded bags of leaves in here as well, that our neighbors gave us when they cleaned up. So that was a nice cheap way to add to their bedding, and it's pretty. Oh, hi. Oh, I love the little submission squats. I'm sorry, I forgot to service you. Okay, so yeah, you can see it's pretty fluffy, and I think that did pretty well for them and by way of insulation. So happy with that. Okay, bye, ladies. And the last thing I'll show everybody while I get this closed up here, I'm going to take in our mountain view. You can see another, this is a 3-way cherry tree and a Santa Rosa plum that we put in September, and I just wrapped them with a little bit of burlap. So we'll see how that does. I didn't have time to mulch them better like I wanted to, but I think they'll be okay. They've been getting watered properly for a change, which is something I'm bad at. So I'll take you into the dome. This is where we weren't as successful as I'd hoped, and I think we could have done some things differently. You'll see when we get in here what I mean. It is chaos and bedlam in here. So first off, bubble wrap. This was my father-in-law's idea. I don't know how much it really did, but it was like 60 bucks for the roll, so we have it. So we can probably reuse it. It probably at least kept drafts from down low off of the more tender plants, and what it was really necessary for were these solar fans and vents here, because with how they came, we can't actually turn them off without unwiring them, which we prefer not to do over and over again. So that's just some kind of flaw with these particular fans that we haven't been able to figure out without replacing them. So this was my solution to kind of at least keep them from blasting cold air in here. It was not perfect by any stretch. Anytime the sun is out, even if it's 2 degrees outside, they will run. So better than nothing, not great. I probably would have, if we have to do bubble wrap again, do a whole sheet down low behind them and then wrap them off so that at least the cold air they're piping in is behind this. And then you can see also our array of heating experiment element things. So for the first night, we used our propane grill. That was another father-in-law recommendation, and it worked pretty well, I think. Only issue was that it was a little bit of a carbon monoxide bomb in here, which was not ideal. So after that, we tried, well, actually before we tried the grill, this was another father-in-law gift, but this one smelled even more strongly of methane when we turned it on. This was just a like a patio heater kind of thing, so we were a little bit scared of that one. Didn't end up using that for long. This one was just in the house. So for last night and the night before, we ended up using this. It was kind of unreliable. I don't think it was meant to operate in temperatures as low as it got in here, which was like high 20s. So this is probably not going to be a permanent solution, but it got us through, so I'll take that. I had bought, as a precaution in case we couldn't find anything secondhand, what is it? One of those tall propane patio heaters. And after all of our, gas scares, I think I'd prefer not to have propane in here if we can help it. Our electric is with solar panels, so I feel a little bit better about it. But yeah, I ended up returning that. I think what I'm going to do going forward is spring for an actual electric greenhouse heater. I think that'll work better for our intended purposes. And that should be better there. I also covered, we don't have a whole lot going on in here right now, but I did cover some of our greens that we're still kind of nursing here. So I think these guys all made it. I can uncover them now. We kept having scares because we'd come out in the morning and everything would be crunchy and frozen, and then an hour later the other one would come out and they were fine. Mostly why we were babying everything in here was these 3 citrus trees, which were like 150 bucks each, and I didn't really want to, I can't remember if they were 150 bucks each or total, but I didn't want to buy new ones if I could help it. So I think everything did okay. I don't think we lost too many leaves. Like there's some borderline here where there's probably some tissue damage. So we might lose a few leaves, but I think the overall plants made it okay, which was all I was going for. Like on this lime balm, got a little bit of tissue damage there. So nothing croaked, I don't think. I'd take you around the whole thing, but it's a little cumbersome in here. We're going to be putting all this away today. The other things that were working in our favor that I probably could have started earlier were sun actually hitting our heatsink tank. That was important. So we had been trying to leave our shade cloth up year round just because we don't like messing with it. But we ended up taking that down, and I think the pond is working more as expected now. That was just our stubbornness. And then we also disconnected both of the bottom and top vents from their beeswax hydraulics, which is probably going to be not sustainable for the whole winter, but I'm glad we did it at the time. We just don't like climbing on ladders in here. If I had to do it over again, I would have done this raised bed with a path in the middle. It's a little bit cumbersome to get to the middle even with the keyholes. So that's how that panned out. I think the fish are still okay in there. The pond got pretty chilly. I may have lost that lemongrass up on the pond bar there. I still have to organize in here desperately. But overall, I think if I had to do this over again, I would have draped everything. That seemed to help. Take it off during the day so that heat can reach the soil level. That's something I forgot to do the first day. I don't think I'd bother with the bubble wrap except over the vents. And other than that, actually that's another thing we did. We at one point tried throwing these little bricks in the oven and sitting them around, not on anything flammable, but I don't know if they did a ton. We would not have gotten by on those in like -10 degrees, but overall, even without intervention, it stayed about 30 degrees over the outside temperatures in here, which is pretty good. I'll take it. I'll probably just have to baby the citrus for those occasions, which is okay. I definitely think putting the heater over on this cool side was more beneficial than putting it by the ponds, because this is where things got a little bit frostier. But everything made it, more or less, so I'm happy. Got a little bit of teardown to do today, but a lot of lessons learned, and I'm not unhappy with how everything survived. I probably just would have... There's things you don't know until you actually experience them. Like, half the people I talked to said I was doing too much, and half said I wasn't doing enough, so somewhere in between is the right way to go. So yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks for tuning in. Hope this was helpful to somebody on, what worked for us and what we might do different. But yeah, happy whatever you celebrate. I'll probably have a New Year's video because New Year's is a holiday for me. So yeah, let me pan out with a scenic view for you. Have a good one. Bye.